What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Flying Knee KO podcast. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for joining me. Episode 10, it is finally here. It took so dang long. I took a few weeks off. Not gonna lie, there was a few fight weeks that I didn't even catch on Saturday. I'm gonna be honest, but I knew there was gonna be a fight card that was gonna get me back into that mode of wanting to watch some more UFC fights, some more MMA. And what better card than UFC 253, headlined by Israel, the Last Stylebender Adesanya, taking on Paulo Costa, the Eraser. I mean, it had been months of hype. You knew that these two guys were going to face off. Both guys were undefeated, and man, I don't even know how to kind of go from here besides the fact that it just exceeded my expectations. I'm a big Izzy fan. I was rooting for Stylebender. I know that, when you're an MMA fan, it's very dangerous to root for somebody, especially, in this sport where it can all go wrong with one. When you should have zigged, you zag, and then boom, you get rocked, you get submitted. So many crazy things can happen in this sport, but man, it just, Adesanya, the way he's able to perform on Saturday night just proves that there is nobody better in the middleweight division than Israel, the Last Stylebender Adesanya. I mean, it was just incredible how he was able to just put on a show in 2 rounds, maybe even less than 2 rounds. So that was just one of the great moments that happened this past Saturday. We also had a great co-main event, which was Jan Blachowicz taking on Dominic Reyes. And the significance was the fact that we were going to have our first new light heavyweight champion in over 9 years. So either one of those guys was going to have a chance to obtain gold for the first time in their careers. Dominic Reyes, as a few months ago in February, actually, at the beginning of this year, had a chance. A lot of people thought he beat John Jones in their light heavyweight matchup. Instead, ended up going decision towards the favor of John Jones. So now Dominic Reyes had to kind of recoup after he had ended up suffering his first loss against John Bones Jones. And now he's back, trying to see if he had a chance to regain that gold that everybody thought he won. Unfortunate for him, he faced off against the Polish power of Jan Blachowicz, and it was just amazing performance by those two guys as well. But I feel like I've already talked too much at this intro beginning, so let's just go ahead and jump on right into this first segment. I'm just going to pull in the hot news that we got from this past UFC event, UFC 253, and the segment is actually called
Take your pants off. My balls was hot. I understand.
Derek Lewis saying his balls were hot. So I'm going to translate that into saying that I'm going to pull off the hot news that came out from this past UFC card 253. Again, it was headlined by Adesanya and Paulo Costa. And I spoiled it already, as I typically do when I first start this podcast. But the hot news has to be the headliner, Israel Adesanya. He retains his UFC middleweight championship by defeating Paulo Costa in the second round via TKO. I mean, everybody just looking at it, if you're a casual fan, if you're a hardcore fan, you see the body of Paulo Costa. You see how jacked he is, the Brazilian. He's been able to finish a lot of his opponents, outstrikes them in any way, shape, or form. He's just the way he's able to land. And yes, he does gas out. I mean, the amount of muscle that he has, it's no surprise that Paulo Costa can gas out, but it's just his will that allows him to keep throwing those punches, keep striking, left, right, uppercut, all these different types of combinations. So immediately when you see a guy of that stature, of that size, you're thinking, okay, how is Israel Adesanya going to try to combat that? How is he going to try to either outmaneuver him or out-game plan him and try to, again, land his shots, but still stay safe, stay in a good range? Take a look at that fight this past Saturday at UFC 253. Israel Adesanya nullified Paulo Costa. He kept him at a range where you couldn't get too close, because Adesanya does have that power and precision. It's not even the power of his strikes. It's more of where he places that shot. Where is it going to land? Is it going to land at the temple of your head with a nice left hook? Or is it going to be a high leg kick to the dome? Is it going to be calf kicks that'll try to chop you down in order to not have your lead leg be any help to you really in the fight. And Israel did all of that. He started off just by throwing these leg kicks, calf kicks, calf kicks, calf kicks to the outside of Paulo Costa's lead leg. It immediately started getting red by the end of that first round. And then Adesanya did not stop. He would throw inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, just kept mixing it up, then throw some body kicks. And you could tell, okay, when is that high leg kick gonna come? And Paulo Costa must have had that in his mind, but he wasn't anticipating any of those movements by Adesanya. He just kept waiting and like that. There was even a moment where, he was getting kicked on that lead leg was Costa, and he was still egging on Adesanya. He wanted him to get a little bit closer, just like Yoel Romero did in their last matchup against the Stylebender. That fight, a lot of people criticized it because there wasn't no action. It was a technical fight because both guys have that specific precision and power to hurt each other, but neither Stylebender or Yoel Romero wanted to engage in that war. Here, Paulo Costa, he knew he wanted to engage, but he did one different thing that he does in his previous fights, and that's the fact that he didn't go all out in the first round. He waited. He knew that, okay, this is different. This is a championship fight. I need to save my energy. I need to make sure that I have enough just in case I can't finish this guy in the first, second, or third round. Then I need some gas in my tank by the fourth and fifth, the championship rounds, just to make sure there's no mistakes and there's no, any slip-ups that I might lose. So he started off really slow, and that was very different from what we've seen for Paulo Costa. The problem is that Adesanya's already been through those 5-round main events. He's already accustomed to that spotlight that he took advantage. All right, you're not going to come to me? That's fine. Anytime you get close, I'm going to kick you. Try to chop your leg down, throw some body kicks. And as I mentioned before, all those kicks to the calf were just, again, he was trying to nullify that lead leg of Paulo Costa and then threw some body kicks. But all he was trying to do is just get the body of Paulo Costa comfortable to thinking, okay, when's that kick coming? And so I can be ready to block it. And then once that head kick came, it just landed flush over the right side of Paulo Costa's face. Ended up cutting him in the right eyebrow. And it was just a beauty to watch. I was screaming at the top of my lungs when I saw that kick. It just landed so nice. And what made it better is that there was no fans. So the thud was incredible. And then after that was in the second round. It just all went Adesanya's way. They got into a quick exchange. It looked like they were about to clinch. They separated. And then you see the left hook just thrown by Adesanya land. And it grazes the temple of Paulo Costa. And in real, and live, I guess, in the moment, it was so quick that it didn't seem like the punch even landed, but it did when you see the replay. It just grazes the temple of Paulo Costa. He just did not see that punch coming, immediately falls to his knees, and Adesanya just got into top position, started throwing some rights and some lefts, ground and pound, and then some nasty elbows that ended up rocking the head of Paulo Costa, and it immediately ended up getting stopped by the referee. TKO victory in the second round for Adesanya, and he just shut down any haters that he knew he had or any doubters as well. Because even though he's the champion, there's always doubters. There's always somebody saying, well, this next challenger, he's going to be the one that's going to stop the Stylebender. Well, that did not happen this past Saturday night. What a performance by Israel Adesanya. The last Stylebender is still your UFC middleweight champion. All right, also wanted to mention the new light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz. He got it done also in the second round. Again, both guys getting their chance to try to win their gold for the first time in the UFC in their careers. And, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Going into the matchup, I feel like Reyes already had that kind of experience. What better experience can you get than facing off against the greatest light heavyweight of all time and what some might consider the greatest UFC fighter and MMA fighter of all time in Jon Jones? I mean, there's no better teacher than that. No better way to kind of look back and see, okay, what did I do good against Jon that maybe I can take over to face off against Jan Blachowicz? Or what are some of the mistakes or holes that I got, that may have been exposed by Jon that I needed to fill in? That way Jan doesn't, find that opportunity. And going in, I thought, okay, well, Reyes must have the advantage. He was the favorite, but Jan Blachowicz, 37 years old, age is just a number to this man, and he showed off that Polish power by landing a sick left hand, another left hook. Same thing as the main event. That ended up stunning Dominic Reyes. He ended up falling backwards, was trying to hold himself up, could not do it, fall to the floor, and then Jan just put it on him on the floor, just throwing some nasty ground and pound, and the referee was forced to stop the fight. Jan Blachowicz is your new light heavyweight champion. The man is just, he's on a roll. He's already on a 3-fight win streak. He's got back-to-back KO victories or TKO victories. He ended up KOing Corey Anderson in his last matchup, which ended up getting him that talks about getting a title shot. And John Jones was actually in the stands watching Jan Blachowicz because that event ended up being in New Mexico. And, Jan was like, all right, it's my turn now. And, instead of getting John Jones, he got Dominic Reyes, but for the title. And now he's able to capture his first UFC championship. What a moment for him. Unfortunate for Dominic Reyes. Now he's got back-to-back losses. So now it's back to the gym, back to the training camp, and back to the drawing board, really, is what I was trying to say. In order to understand, okay, what he needs to do now, Jan he just outstruck him that moment. Ended up breaking his nose before he even TKO'd him. He just landed a nice 1-2 right through the guard of Dominic Reyes and ended up breaking his nose or twisting it. It just looked disgusting on the replay. And then again, that left hook that landed by Jan Blachowicz is nasty. He knocked out Luke Rockhold with that punch, ended up rocking Corey Anderson, and now he's got Dominic Reyes on his resume. Should be interesting to see how long Jan Blachowicz can hold that UFC championship. But congratulations to him for this past weekend's fight. All right, everybody. Just talked about the best stuff that came out of this past weekend's UFC Fight Night, which is UFC 253, a pay-per-view card. So now that I've talked about some of those fights, I want to delve into the best fight of the night for me, in my personal opinion. And that specific segment is called...
Let me bang, man. I want to do that, man. I do.
Let Me Bang Bros segment by Julian Lane, who said that comment. Always a classic line. It's basically the segment where I choose a fight where two guys, or women as well, just bang it out in the cage for the past Saturday's UFC fight card. And in this one, I ended up choosing the flyweights. Brandon Royval versus Kai Kara France. And man, what a performance these two guys were able to put on in the cage. The fight didn't even go 3 rounds. It ended early. It ended up being a submission victory for Brandon Royval. But it's the way that both guys were able to show off their stuff in the quick 2 rounds that matchup was. It was just incredible the way that Brandon Royval was able to come back. Because first round, it was all very quick action. Both guys landing some nice leg kicks, trying to land some strikes. Very crisp, very quick. And that's one of the great things about these flyweights. It's just some flyweights have serious power, like Davis and Figueiredo, and you also have different flyweights that are just so damn quick on the ground. A lot of scrambles. It's just a lot of high level grappling, and you got to see a little bit of each one of those portions in this fight. You got a sweet overhand right that ended up landing by Kai Kara France, that ended up stumbling Brandon Royval, and it looked like he didn't have his balance with him. He stumbled after he got back to his feet, and you could see that Kai Kara France wanted to go in for the kill, and Brandon Royval ended up doing a nice little spinning back elbow right as soon as he got up from stumbling, ended up rocking, hit the chin of Kai Kara France, and France immediately falls on his butt, and then it ended up being a little bit even again. Both guys throwing a few more strikes. So Brandon Royval with a sick spinning back elbow that kept him in that first round and did not allow him to get finished by Kai Kara France. We then move over to the second round, and then eventually you knew that it was going to go to the ground. And when it hit the ground, I was very interested to see how Kai Kara France was going to be able to nullify the submission attempts or the submission skill of Brandon Royval, and it did not happen at all. Because as soon as they went to the ground, Royval ended up getting into a good position, got a hold of the neck of Kai Kara France, sunk in the guillotine, and he ended up getting Kai Kara France to tap out, and he got the victory in the second round. Such a great performance by both guys. And again, it's a great move that you could look back and you're thinking, okay, what saved Brandon Royval? It had to have been that spinning back elbow that just changed the momentum of that fight. Great performance by the flyweights. These flyweights should not be overlooked. Not just Kai Kara-France or Brandon Royval, but any flyweight that you see in the UFC. So good job by these two men for putting on a heck of a show at UFC 253. All right, we just talked about the best fight at UFC 253. So now let's move into a fighter where we may not have been surprised by their performance. It's something that we expected in the segment that I like to call...
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Nate Diaz saying he is not surprised. And who's the one fighter that we were not surprised of at UFC 253? No question, for me, Israel Adesanya. Yes, I've already talked about this man in the hot news segment or the hot ball segment that I mentioned earlier, but this guy deserves all these segments. This guy just put on a heck of a performance because, again, you think of a challenger like Paulo Costa, who he weathered all of the biggest strikes of Yoel Romero, who's one of the scariest guys in the middleweight division. And he's able to, again, put some fear into a lot of guys' eyes. But he didn't do that to Israel Adesanya. Instead, Adesanya's the one who ended up dropping him, who threw a precise and perfect left hook that just landed flush on the temple of Paulo Costa. Adesanya controlled every minute of that fight. There was no rhythm for Paulo Costa. He couldn't find that range. He couldn't, get Adesanya to, get into his emotions and want to come running forward towards Paulo Costa. Instead, he just tried to, again, bait him in there. But he knew that if he rushed in, Paulo Costa did, he was going to get outstruck. If he got into a bad position, he outstretched himself, he was going to get either rocked by a head kick, rocked by one of those question mark kicks that Adesanya was throwing, or again, get knocked out by a left or right hook. So it was just unbelievable performance by Adesanya. I was not surprised by the way he was able to take out Paulo Costa. I mean, I did say earlier that it blew my expectations away. I was hoping that Adesanya was going to get the victory. I didn't think it was going to be that quick. I knew that if it was going to be a finish, I was thinking it might be in the 4th round, maybe even in the 5th round after Paulo Costa had just gassed out completely. But 2nd round, when Costa was still fresh, no way. It's just unbelievable how this guy is just going to continue to get better. He's only 29 years of age. He is in his physical prime, his athletic prime, and he's just continuing to get better. And he's already one of the best strikers in MMA. So he can only go up from here. The challenges are only going to get tougher, but I mean, at this rate, the whole middleweight division is still levels below Israel Adesanya, and I cannot wait to see him again in that cage. All right, moving on from a fighter that we were expecting him to either win or put on a great performance. Now we're going to look at a fighter that we were completely caught off guard by. And this segment is actually called...
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? No, damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
Who the F is that guy by the hilarious Conor McGregor at a press conference for UFC 205. I'm going to admit I copped out on this one. I'm pretty sure everyone knows who this guy is now, but it's Jan Blachowicz. I wanted to put a spotlight on him because, again, he's the first, not the first, but really the new light heavyweight champion, one that we haven't had since 2011. That's 9 years of either John Jones or Daniel Cormier being the light heavyweight champion. So you got to throw a spotlight on this man. 37 years of age, and he is still performing like he did last Saturday, where he just, again, outstruck a great, talented, and young striker, Dominic Reyes. He just, again, put it on him, broke his nose, just stumbled him with a nice left hook. The man is just scary, powerful. And the way he just, again, was very patient. He doesn't go in for the kill immediately. He doesn't just blitz in and just put on a reckless performance. He's very patient. He times his strikes. He knows what point he should throw it, at what point he should defend. That way he doesn't get caught slipping and make a mistake. He just does everything so well, so methodical, and he's stuck to his game plan. and his power is just unbelievable. Like I mentioned before, he shut the lights off of Luke Rockhold, knocked out Corey Anderson, and now he's put out Dominic Reyes. This man is just on a crazy streak. And now we're going to wonder who's next, or who's going to be able to put up a challenge, as well as coming into the fact that he is going up in age. He's 37 years old. How long is he going to stay in this sport? But, we can all forget about that, because one thing we got to do is, again, give this guy his respect. Jan Blachowicz put on a heck of a performance, and he even called out John Jones. I love it. Even though John Jones apparently is going to move up to heavyweight, Jan took his shot. He says, you know what? I was supposed to face John. John, if you're ever interested, come back down, and I'm willing to put up a good challenge against you. I loved it, He shot his shot, if that makes any sense. But Jan Blachowicz is your new light heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC. All right, well, that's already 4 segments down. We got one more to go. And in this one, it's very biased. It's just me trying to predict what's next for the winners of UFC 253, that main card. And what specific, fantasy booking I want to see them against in their next couple of months. And so this segment is actually called...
So I said I'd knock him out in the 4th round, and I knocked him out in the 4th round. You can call me Mystic Mac, because I predict these things.
Mystic Mac is the name of this segment. And just like Conor McGregor just mentioned, I'm going to predict what is next for the fighters that won on UFC 253 this past Saturday night. Let's start off with the mean Hakeem Dawodu, the featherweight. He ended up getting a decision victory over Zubaira Tukhugov. That's right, I said it, Tukhugov. I got that one down. It took me a few tries before I did this podcast, but I ended up getting it. Like I mentioned, Dawodu ended up getting a very close decision victory over Tukhugov, and it took him a while. That first round he ended up losing. Second round was very razor close. But his third round is where he stepped up his performance. He knew, okay, if it's going to go to the hands of the judges, I'm going to have to put on a heck of a performance. And he did just that. Ended up getting that decision victory from the judges. So now he's going to move on, and he's calling out, different featherweights that are ranked. He wants a ranked opponent. He wants to challenge himself. And he specifically said he does not want a guy that's going to be running, because he got really frustrated with Zubaira, who just kept running around the cage. He wasn't really running. He was just, again, trying to evade all of the strikes that Dawodu was throwing. But again, seems like Hakeem wants a challenge. He wants a guy that's going to stay right in his face. So why not give him 2 different ranked opponents in the featherweight division? Why not Ryan Hall or Cub Swanson? Ryan Hall has been looking for a fight for the past year. Nobody wants to challenge him, again, because of his submission ability, the jiu-jitsu master of Ryan Hall. Everybody's scared, and I would not be surprised why certain fighters just don't want to fight him. That would be a good matchup. Again, Dawodu would have to, again, try to find a way to mitigate the submission threat that Ryan Hall provides. Cub Swanson is also another good challenge. He's also coming off of a victory. He also is very skilled in jiu-jitsu, but he also is willing to throw and just bang it out with an opponent. So I would not mind seeing either Ryan Hall or Cub Swanson face off against Hakeem Dawodu. That way they can test him to see if he deserves to be one of the top 15 featherweights in the UFC. All right, next matchup ended up being Ketlen Vieira from Brazil, who ended up facing Sijara Eubanks in the women's bantamweight division. Vieira ended up getting a unanimous decision over Sijara Eubanks, ended up winning 2 rounds, total 3 over Eubanks. Eubanks tried to make a good comeback in that 3rd round, but she just could not get the finish. And it was just a lot more clean strikes by Vieira. Mixed up her offense a lot better than Sijara Eubanks. Eubanks was really just going for the head, while Vieira was actually mixing up with some body shots, nice little leg kicks. Overall, in the judges' eyes, they saw that Vieira was really just mixing up her offense and throwing a lot more different strikes, trying to see if he can land on Eubanks. So now that Vieira got the victory, she's actually going to be moving up a spot, hopefully, in the rankings. She was ranked number 7 on Saturday, so we'll see how that changes as the rankings get updated. So to me, I feel like she's going to have 2 good matchups to face off in the bantamweight division. There's either the tough Aspen Ladd or Raquel Pennington. Both of these ladies are coming off of victories this year, so I'd be very interested to see what matchup they can give Ketlen Vieira. And both those matchups in Raquel Pennington and Aspen Ladd are going to be very, very tough for her. She's going to have to, again, have a nice training camp in order to prepare, because Raquel Pennington is no easy customer. She is just a savage when it comes to the bantamweight division. Yes, she got very much brutalized against Amanda Nunes, but other than Amanda Nunes, nobody's been able to kind of punish Raquel Pennington. She's just, again, looking for a way to try to get to the title shot once more in that bantamweight division. So why not put Vieira against either Aspen Ladd or Raquel Pennington? All right, next fighter we're going to discuss is Brandon Royval. I mentioned him in the Let Me Bang Bro segment with his matchup against Kai Kara France. Again, ended up getting a submission victory via guillotine in the second round. Again, beautiful spinning back elbow that just changed everything in that fight, as well as his slick jiu-jitsu just got him the victory. He ended up getting a submission victory already in his past fight against Tim Elliott this year. So he is on a current 3-fight win streak, all by submission. This guy deserves a top 5 opponent in the flyweight division. So why not give him Askar Askarov? He currently sits at number 3, does not have an opponent lined up. I mean, if Royval can get that matchup, he gets a victory over the number 3. That's 4 in a row. There is no question that Royval will not get a title shot in the near future for him in that flyweight division. All right, co-main event time now. As we mentioned before, in the first segment, the hot ball segment, as well as the Who the F is That Guy segment, Jan Blachowicz, your new light heavyweight champion of the world. He defeated Dominic Reyes in the second round via TKO, just ground and pound, ended up twisting his nose up. It was just pretty intense like that. But again, Jan Blachowicz now on a 3-fight win streak. So what is next for Jan Blachowicz? He's a new champion. Who should he face off against? And to me, very clear cut. There's going to be a matchup, I believe in November. It's going to be Thiago Santos against Glover Teixeira. The number 3 and number 4 ranked, I believe. I might be wrong, but I'll check the rankings. Those are the number 3 and number 4 ranked fighters in the light heavyweight division. That is a number 1 contender fight. Whoever wins from that one should face off against Jan Blachowicz. Thiago Santos has not fought since 2018, where he lost against John Jones. Ended up, I believe he tore his ACL completely, and he still fought, and he still, in some judges' eyes, thought that he beat John Jones. He ended up losing, but still, he put on a great performance against, again, another one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. We also have Glover Teixeira, who's currently on a 3-fight win streak. He actually ended up TKOing Anthony Smith in his last matchup this year. So it should be interesting. 2 guys from Brazil who are vying to get a title shot. Thiago Santos, he's just trying to get back into that cage as fast as he can because he just wants to taste UFC gold one more time. And Glover Teixeira, again, another guy that's just, age is just a number for him. He's just looking for another chance to fight for UFC gold as well. Should be a fun matchup, and that fight will occur on November 7th of this year. All right, everybody. Last fighter of this specific Mystic Max segment is going to be Israel Adesanya. And this one's just really easy as well. Next month, UFC 254, co-main event is going to be Jared Cannonier versus Robert Whittaker, the former middleweight champion. That is a clear-cut number 1 contender fight. Robert Whittaker just came off a victory over Darren Till. And so now he's just, again, looking for a way to get back to that championship. He just wants that gold. He wants to beat up on Israel Adesanya because he just humiliated him last year when he took away his championship. Adesanya made it look so easy. So I'm pretty sure Robert Whittaker is going to want to get a rematch, change something up in his game plan to try to get another shot at Adesanya. For Jared Cannonier, he's been one guy that's actually already been on Adesanya's radar. Adesanya already said that Cannonier was the dark horse of the middleweight division. He had a lot of respect for Cannonier. He knew he was going to fight him one day, and this could be the moment. So next month, it's going to be Jared Cannonier versus Robert Whittaker, number 1 contender fight. Winner of that will face off against Israel Adesanya. And now really, when that would occur, I feel like that's really on Jared Cannonier and Robert Whittaker. How damaged do they get? Because Adesanya didn't take one blow. He didn't take one significant strike that could, keep him for, a few days away from the cage. He is just clean. No damage at all. So it's really on these two middleweights to see how damaged they go. Will they go on a 5-round war, or will it be something quick that ends via TKO or submission? Should be very interesting to watch, guys, and that is going to be on UFC 254, which actually is headlined by Khabib and Justin Gaethje. All right, everybody. Well, that's basically all I wanted to talk about in this Flying Knee KO podcast, episode number 10. It feels so good to be back. I apologize that it took me so long to pull out another episode. But again, I'm hoping to keep up with these specific podcasts and hopefully be doing one on a weekly basis, trying to find a few more guests. That way I can at least change it up and not just talk about, fights or having you guys listen to my voice all the time, and rather just, again, bring in different perspectives. That way we can talk about anything in regards to MMA. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you listening. You guys have a great rest of your week. And if you're interested, this Saturday, there's actually going to be a UFC fight night. It's going to be Holly Holm versus Aldana, which is a great bantamweight matchup. Irene Aldana coming off a nice couple victories. She's trying to climb up those bantamweight rankings. And if she can get a victory over a great champion, a former bantamweight champion, Holly Holm, there's no question that she can get a title shot and hopefully face off against the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time in Amanda Nunes. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so just in case you guys want to watch it, it's Aldana versus Holm this Saturday. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you guys next week for episode 11 of the Flying Knee KO podcast.